the enemies of Christ wrote about him. There are negative references to Christ. Christ was a sorcerer, and I find that to be fascinating. That the enemies of Christ viewed him as a sorcerer, which means he supposedly performed miracles.
The enemies of this Jesus said that he was a sorcerer, so that means he performed miracles. This is how confirmation bias works. This is how you must be delusional if you were to take this stance. I want you to think about it for just a second. What you are effectively saying is that if you are opposed to Serapis and the fact that Serapis healed a lame man and healed a blind man through Vespasian, then the sorcery that a Christian would claim that happened with Serapis and Vespasian is then a miracle, not witchcraft. The Salem witch trials and the other witch trials that went on during the Inquisitions, all these things that these men and women were accused of participating in is being claimed by the Catholic Church at the time frame as sorcery, but in truth, they were performing miracles. So when a person who is practicing Ifa and through Mama Wata or Oshun, as a Christian, when these people perform these things, are you saying that they are performing miracles, or would you say they are performing witchcraft? You see, this is when confirmation bias comes in thoroughly, because every Christian who listens to this is going to say that those other people were performing witchcraft. But since it is Jesus who is performing the exact same miracles as Serapis, the exact same miracles as Odin, the exact same miracles as Aphrodite or Apollo or Tehuti or any other deity, that Jesus' versions are miracles of God because of the one trueness of God, and we believe that he is God, and so on and so forth. But anybody else is of the devil, so therefore it is sorcery. But on the other side of that coin, when another person is of that other religion, they look at what the so-called Jesus is doing. Jesus is the one who is of the devil. Jesus is the one who is the sorcerer. And that's just how we would think about it today. But if you really go back into the mindset, and this is why I say that you have to study these things based on the culture of the time frame it was written and how those people thought and how they would have accepted things, that explains why they write things. So Christianity being a cult at the time frame, still a cult today, in my opinion, but a small cult in the Levant at the time frame, extolling the virtues of this man God Jesus as a person who has done these miracles. These miracles no doubtably would have not been that much different from the miracles that people who were believing in Serapis would have thought. People who were believing in the Egyptian gods of Ra and Isis and Asar, Set. People who were believing in Zeus and Hercules and or the Roman gods or Kronos or any of these other deities in that area, whether you were of the Mesopotamian people, believing in Shamash and Baal and all these other deities, Jesus would have been no different to them. To them, Jesus would have just been a similar sorcerer, a similar magician like everybody else, because what they lacked in knowledge of science, they called magic. When they saw comets in the sky and they ascribed different tellings to it, it was magic to them. When somebody was able to heal somebody with a plant and they go through a ritual, they and it ends up with plants and things being alchemy together and they get healed, it's magic. It's a miracle, simply because they just don't understand the science. And so everyone who was, they claimed to be practicing magic back then, were most likely alchemists in the different variations of different cultures of how it is expressed. But they are literally just alchemists which later developed into our biology, our chemistry, our pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. This is not, Jesus wasn't a magician because he didn't exist, but even if he did, he was merely one of thousands of sorcerers in occults of that age and of that time frame, which does not make him special. And the fact that Cliff is trying to use that as a basis for his legitimacy as a historical character just tells you how desperate he is for people to believe what he believes. Because that same thing can be applied in so many other directions, but they will be denied the same level based on whatever a person's belief is. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.